Okay, I think we're just gonna wait a couple more minutes for everyone to arrive, and then we'll get started. And in the meantime, if you haven't yet, please change your Discord nickname to your first and last name. And if you need any help with that, just feel free to ping us in the Discord channel, and we can help you out with that. Okay, and then also, if you haven't contacted your teammates yet or like got with your team yet, please let us know so that we can help you out, because we're trying to get everyone set up as soon as possible. Okay, I think we can get started now. So, just before I start, I wanted to go over some quick reminders.
饭桌上去，妈妈到那边。
So please hold on a second. Okay, please change your nickname in Discord to your first and last name. And if you haven't contacted your team, please let us know so we can help you out. And then so additionally, if you haven't started like creating an idea or you don't know what to do, feel free to contact any of us or the mentors, because we really just want to help you. And you can talk in your own Discord groups. You don't have to use the channel that we created for you. And if you want to use Zoom, we can always help you set up a room. Okay, so now let's get started with the workshop. So welcome to our second theme-related workshop called Education Beyond the Classroom. And in this workshop, we're going to explore more about what education encompasses beyond the classroom and in our community.
Alright, so today we're going to go over 4 topics. The first is going to be education versus academics. So this is stuff like what the differences are and how to distinguish the two of them. And then we're going to be talking about how middle and high schoolers can get involved in community education. And then we're going to look at some more examples of community education action around like our local Seattle area. And finally, we're just going to tie everything back to what we discussed back into our hackathon.
So to start, what is the difference between education and academics? So when the word education comes to mind, what do you guys think? You guys can unmute or type your answer in the chat. Like when you heard our theme, what were the first like words or thoughts that came to mind? Yeah, so the school system, kind of like academics, like grades. I think that's what I thought when I heard that word. Does anyone else have anything to say, or should we move on? Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so yeah. So when the word education comes to mind, most people automatically think about school or school-related things. But in reality, education encompasses a lot more than just school and academics. So let's take a look at the two terms. So education is the pursuit of knowledge by any means, and it's a process of learning that is driven by oneself. So that means that you can learn in many like non-academic ways, such as, for example, like traveling or like reading or just experiencing something, and just many other ways. And education, the education that one wants to gain or learn will differ from person to person. So what are academics? So academics are a systemized branch of education that is structured and standardized. So for example, schools and universities are all examples of an academic education system because you guys are all going through like the same standardized like 12-year process. And so the biggest difference between academics and education is that academics are the same for all the students. So when you go to school, you guys all get the same teachers, same content, but the education that they want to gain or learn differs. So one student might really want to go to a good college, they might want to be really successful in life, so they might take extra time to really learn content versus someone who could just kind of go to school just because it's school. And so academics will provide you with the opportunity, but whether or not you take advantage of the opportunity is basically decided by your education.
Alright, so what does education look like outside of academics, right? So it can be a huge range of things. Like an example is that the sports that you play are all going to be part of education and you have to learn them in order to practice and play. And this list can go on to things like art, which can be literal art like painting or sketching, to visual arts like dancing. Then we can also have like speech and debate, which has a lot of academic ties, but it's still its own subject. And in speech and debate, you get to learn how to defend your own argument and also debunk the credibilities of other arguments. And that's something that isn't really taught in schools thoroughly. Then we have music or playing an instrument, as a lot of you might have done. That's also learned as well as stuff like coding, which is a hobby for many people. For high schoolers, getting a part-time job or an internship is also a form of education, even if you're working in something like a retail or food store. You can also pick up skills like communication, time management, and organization from these jobs and internships. And last but not least, community service, which is going to be a lot of one of our bigger topics today. So community service provides many learning opportunities for the organizer and the participants, and we're going to talk more about that today. So we'll be calling these opportunities community education for the remainder of this presentation.
So next, how can middle and high schoolers get involved in community education? So think about something you're good at or something you're interested in. And now think about a way that you can create an educational opportunity out of your passions. So for example, if you really like STEM, you can step up and teach coding or math or robotics or any STEM related courses. Like I know that there are a lot of robotics camps and like Lego camps, so you can teach that to young children. If you like literature and arts, you can organize reading clubs, writing, drama, music, or art classes for young children. You can run like an art day camp and teach them how to paint. If you're an athlete, I know that we have many athletes out there. There's a lot of sports that you can play. You can form a variety of sports camps, or you can help teach at your local sports club, such as, for example, if you play like basketball or volleyball, there's always like younger children. You can help out and coach them. If you're a boy or a Girl Scout, you can also teach skills that you learn from being a boy or Girl Scout in workshops or camps to aspiring children. And so the list goes on. Just whatever you're passionate about, just find a way to help spread your love for that subject to those around your community.
Oh, sorry, is there something in the chat? Okay. Never mind. Alright. So we can move on to some real life examples of community education action. So first of all, we have cat blanket making, in which volunteers made DIY cat blankets out of felt for local shelters. Then we have a Kung Fu camp, which is inspired by the organizer's skills and love for Kung Fu. And third, we have Adopt a Park, which is when volunteers spent a day cleaning up a local park. And we're going to go into more detail about these acts of service in the next few slides.
So the cat blanket making activity is a perfect example of creating an educational opportunity by acting on something you love. So for example, if you love cats, you can consider helping out your local shelter out and teaching kids around the community about how to contribute. So they donated over 100 cat blankets, and in the process, they also taught many others, like children and even adults, about how to create these blankets and help out.
Then we have Kung Fu Camp, which is a great example of utilizing your sports skills to teach others how to play your sport. And this can also apply to pretty much anything like music or arts. So if you love to play the piano, you can think about creating a camp to teach kids around your community how to play the piano. Or for arts, you can organize a drawing class.
So next, Adopt a Park. So another example of an educational community service is Adopt a Park, where volunteers spent a day at a local park cleaning up like shrubbery, weeds, and like untamed plants, as you can see in the photo. And so many small children, they didn't have any experience like in the garden or with plants prior to attending this. But after the adults and older children taught them, they were able to help like clean up the park, and then they went home with a new skill. And additionally, by like helping better these public environments, you can learn and teach others how to respect parks and playgrounds.
Alright, so some more examples of community education include the Salvation Army Hot Meal Help, where volunteers they'll help at the Salvation Army food bank, and they'll perform many tasks such as preparing hot, ready-to-go meals for those in need. And another example would be creating a science camp and teaching young children basic science concepts, and last but not least, International Buddy, which is an organization dedicated to helping children with autism.
So one way you can help is by helping organize a volunteer group at a local food bank so that you can learn and teach others how to cook simple meals for those in need. And so basically volunteers have the opportunity to learn how to cook in a way that gives back to the community.
Another way you can spread knowledge is by using your science skills to run a science camp about something like chemistry, biology, geology, and more for others in your community. So some activities you could have are like doing science experiments, like creating fake volcanoes or digging for rocks and minerals.
Okay, so our last example for today is going to be International Buddy, which is an organization dedicated to helping autistic children thrive despite whatever barriers they may be. So, for example, like language or like finances. And they work on spreading awareness about autism as well as hosting gatherings and having volunteers help work with children. And so some activities that International Buddy have hosted include playing basketball, teaching roller skating and ice skating to children, as you can see in the photos. And so International Buddy teaches these children how to do activities and are very patient and attentive to their needs. And so a great idea for helping with activities like this would be either joining International Buddy or creating your own organization or a camp to help children with special needs. So after all that, you may be wondering, how does all this tie into the hackathon, which is a pretty different subject from what we just talked about? So after learning about what community education is, we encourage you to broaden your definition of education, and we hope that you can inspire new ideas for your project. And so, because I think when I hear the word education, I always think about how to like school and like grades and just a lot of like academic related things. And so by introducing community education, it gives you like more creative freedom. You can think about, how do I educate kids in ways that aren't just, like schoolwork. So some examples could be like incorporating technology to increase community education, or creating more opportunities using code, which are all great ideas to think about more. And so we hope that you learned that education is defined as learning something, which can be anything, not just like math or history. And so if you need help coming up with the problem to solve for your hackathon, please feel free to ask for help from a mentor or an organizer.
So onto EMP's youth program. So if you're interested in participating or creating any camps or programs like the examples that we presented today, come join the EMP youth program because it's a platform for our teenagers to design and lead their own programs. And through this, teenagers get to share their talents, build leadership skills, and serve our community. So you can email empyouthprogram@gmail.com if you're interested in any of that.
Okay, and that concludes our workshop. So thank you so much for coming. And we hope you've learned something from it, and we hope it'll help you on your hackathon journey. So our next workshop is AI and cybersecurity, and it's at 4 p.m. today. So please feel free to attend that workshop for even more ideas and inspiration. And if you run into any problems throughout the day, feel free to come join a daily check-in at 9 p.m. Or you can check out old workshops on our YouTube channel, which I will send in the chat.
It already ended, guys.
And then if you have any questions about the workshop or the hackathon, feel free to unmute or ask in the chat. And if not, you guys are free to go. Okay, thank you for coming.